The silence of a wise man is more powerful than the shouting of a fool. My friends, let's start here. People think strength is in the noise, in the yelling, in the blocking, in the dramatic gestures. But let me break it down for you. The most powerful move you will ever make in this life is the one where you do nothing at all. That's right, no blocking, no begging, no chasing. Just stillness, just silence. And trust me, that silence hits harder than anything you could ever say. Before we dive deep, press that like button, hit subscribe, and stay with me till the end, because today you're about to see a perspective that might just flip the script in your own life. Hey folks, imagine this. You're walking through a marketplace and someone is trying to sell you something cheap, shouting, waving, doing all kinds of tricks to get your attention. If you stop and argue, you're already caught in their game. But if you keep walking, calm and steady, not even flinching at their noise, suddenly they lose their power. They realize they cannot move you. That is silence. That is what it means to rise above the circus. See, most of us have been sold a lie. The lie that if we don't respond, they'll forget us. The lie that if we don't prove our worth, we'll lose our value. But the truth, the moment you stop begging, the moment you stop reacting, you don't lose value, you multiply it. Because real worth never begs. Diamonds don't scream for attention. The sun doesn't shout to be noticed. It simply rises, and the world cannot ignore it. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. But if I don't block, won't they keep looking at me? If I don't beg, won't they think I don't care? My friends, that's fear talking. That's the voice of attachment, not wisdom. Blocking doesn't make you strong, it makes you look pressed. Begging doesn't make them stay, it only makes them certain you'll never leave. But silence. Silence is what unsettles them at their core. It's the pause that makes them wonder. It's the absence that becomes louder than any argument. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, stop proving, start being. You don't need to argue your worth. You don't need to fight to be remembered. Just stand in your own stillness and let your presence, or the lack of it, do all the talking. Let's add a little humor here, because sometimes the truth is funny in its own cruel way. You know what happens when you block someone? They just open another account to check on you. You know what happens when you beg? They screenshot it, send it to their friends, and laugh about it. But when you go silent, when you're unbothered, unreachable, when your life looks brighter without them, oh, that's when they sit in their room at 2 a.m., staring at the ceiling, replaying everything in their head. Your silence becomes their loudest nightmare. And here's the eye-opening part. Doing nothing is not weakness, it's strategy. It's not passive, it's active power. Every second you stay calm, you are reminding the world that your worth is not tied to anyone else's recognition. You are the mountain. Storms may circle you, winds may try to shake you, but you remain unmoved. And over time, even the storm grows tired. So let's make it clear today, you don't need to block. You don't need to beg. You don't need to run after anyone. All you need is to stand still in your strength, guard your peace, and let silence do the heavy lifting. Because silence doesn't just protect you, it transforms you. Write this down in the comments right now. My silence is power. 3 simple words. And as you type it, you're not just leaving a comment, you're planting a seed inside yourself that will grow stronger every time life tests you. Don't just watch, participate, show yourself, show the world. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and stay with me, because this journey we're on together is only just beginning. Number 1, the power of restraint. He who angers you conquers you. Those words strike like a hammer because they expose a truth most people run from. My friends, whenever you react, whenever you explode, whenever you block, beg, or chase, you're not proving strength, you're giving it away. The one who can make you move, the one who can push your buttons, the one who can steal your peace with their actions, that's the one who holds your power. And the moment they hold your power, they hold you. That's why the sharpest weapon you'll ever carry is restraint. Picture this. Imagine a fire roaring high, flames spitting sparks into the air. Your first instinct is to fight it. Throw water, smother it, do anything to silence it. But what if I told you that fire feeds on your panic? That every splash you throw only fuels its rage? Sometimes the most devastating thing you can do is step back, fold your arms, and let the flames burn themselves out. That's what restraint is. It's starving the drama of the reaction it craves. And let me tell you, nothing unsettles people more than the fire of their chaos meeting the calm of your silence. The lie the world sells you is this: if you don't react, they'll think you don't care. If you don't speak, they'll think you're weak. If you don't block, they'll think you're scared. But here's the reality. They don't fear your words, they fear your silence. They don't respect your rage, they respect your calm. And they don't remember your explanations, they remember the moment you stopped explaining altogether. I know what's running through your mind right now. What if they think they've won? What if they think I gave up? What if they move on? My friends, that's not your burden to carry. Restraint is not about surrender, it's about sovereignty. It's not about letting them go, it's about letting go of their control. You're not telling them you don't care, you're telling them you've reclaimed your dignity. Restraint says, I refuse to play your game. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Think about that. They want you raging, they want you begging, they want you chasing, because that makes them feel powerful. But when you show restraint, when you fold your hands, smile, and let them stew in their own noise, you've already won without lifting a finger. Now let's flip the board. Imagine a chess game. They slam a piece down, expecting you to react instantly, to rush into their trap. But instead, you sit back, calm, unmoved, eyes steady. They lean forward, tapping their fingers, waiting for your reaction. But you don't give it. You wait. And the longer you wait, the more their confidence crumbles. That, my friends, is the storm restraint creates in their mind. But let's not pretend it's easy. Restraint is a battle fought inside you. Your pride screams, don't let them think you're weak. Your ego whispers, show them you're still in control. Your heart aches to be heard, to be seen, to be understood. But restraint is about choosing mastery over impulse. It's about realizing that you don't need to fight every battle. They're not all worthy of your sword. Sometimes the strongest warrior is the one who refuses to swing. And yes, it will hurt. It will feel unnatural. It will make you question if you're doing the right thing. But the beauty of restraint is that over time, silence grows heavier than any weapon. They don't forget it. They replay it. They wonder why you didn't break. They wonder why you didn't chase. They wonder how you found the strength to stay still when they expected you to collapse. Here's what you need to remember. Anyone can send a text. Anyone can beg. Anyone can lash out. That's easy. What's rare is the soul that can stand still, that can breathe deeply, that can say, I choose not to move. Restraint is rare, and rarity is what makes it priceless. A lion doesn't flinch at barking dogs. It doesn't even turn its head, not because it doesn't hear them, but because it knows they are beneath its energy. My friends, you are that lion. Stop wasting your roar on dogs that can't touch you. Let your silence be the message. Let your restraint be the lesson. So here's what I want you to declare today. Write it in the comments right now. My restraint is my power. Don't just type it, believe it. Show yourself that you are no longer at the mercy of their chaos. Show the world that your silence is not weakness, but strength. Let your words in the comments be your first act of restraint, your first step toward mastery. And stay with me, because what comes next will take this even deeper. You'll see why silence doesn't just protect you, it transforms you. You'll see why not reacting is not the end of the battle, but the beginning of your victory. Number 2. No block, just distance. Detachment is not that you should own nothing, but that nothing should own you. My friends, let's sit with that for a moment. The reason most people rush to block is not out of strength, but out of fear. Fear that if they still see your name pop up, they'll lose their self-control. Fear that if you're still around, they'll crumble and reach out. So they block to protect themselves. But let's be honest, blocking is just another form of reacting. It's another way of saying, you still have enough control over me that I had to build a wall. Now picture this. Imagine a house sitting on top of a hill. At the bottom there's chaos, people shouting, throwing stones, making noise. Blocking is like running down the hill, slamming the door and locking it. But true power, that's staying in your house so far above the noise that their shouting can't even reach you. You don't need to lock the door if they can't touch your walls. That's distance. That's the kind of detachment that doesn't come from fear, it comes from strength. But I know what some of you are thinking. If I don't block them, won't they still have access to me? Won't they still try to get in my head? And here's the truth. Access is not the same as connection. They can watch you. They can lurk. They can scroll your name 100 times a day. But if your energy is no longer available, if your focus is no longer invested, if your emotions are no longer for sale, then all they're doing is staring at a closed window. They see, but they can't touch, and that helplessness eats them alive. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." Freedom doesn't come from cutting someone off in panic. Freedom comes when you're so secure in yourself that their presence no longer shakes you. Blocking is noise, distance is silence. And silence, my friends, is what lingers. Here's the lie the world whispers. If you don't block, they'll think you still care. If you don't cut them off completely, they'll think you're weak. But the reality? Distance hurts more than deletion. Because blocking screams, "I'm bothered," but silence says, "You're irrelevant." Blocking is reaction. Distance is indifference. And indifference is terrifying to someone who once had your attention. Think of it like this. Imagine a performer on stage, giving everything, singing, dancing, shouting for applause. The worst thing that could happen is not boos, it's silence, an empty audience, no reaction at all. That's what your distance feels like to them. They can perform, they can post louder, they can pretend harder. But when your eyes are no longer watching, when your energy is no longer feeding them, they're left standing under the spotlight with no audience. That emptiness screams louder than any block ever could. Now let's face it, it's not easy. Distance requires discipline. It means seeing their name pop up and choosing not to engage. It means hearing the temptation to check in, but standing firm in your silence. It means remembering that you don't win by reacting, you win by refusing to play. And that will be hard at first. Your ego will itch to prove you've moved on. Your pride will want to show them they don't matter. But my friends, proving it is still reacting. Living it is distance. The beauty of distance is that it creates mystery. They can't measure you anymore. They can't predict your next move. They can't decide whether you're angry, happy, hurting, or thriving. And that unknown drives them insane, because when you blocked, they knew why. But when you're just gone, calm, detached, still visible but untouchable, they're left with nothing but questions. and questions are far more haunting than answers. So let's break the lie today. Blocking is not strength, it's noise. Distance is where the real power lies. You don't need to build walls when you've already built a world they no longer belong to. You don't need to scream, "Stay out," when your silence already proves they're not invited in. The more you focus on your life, your growth, your peace, the smaller they become. Until one day, you look back and realize they're not even on the map anymore. So here's your declaration today. Write it in the comments right now. My distance is my strength. Show yourself, show the world. Show that you no longer need to block, to beg, to fight, or to explain. All you need is distance, and trust me, distance speaks for itself. Stay with me, because what's coming next will hit even harder. We've talked about restraint, we've talked about distance, but the next truth will reveal why begging not only destroys your dignity, but hands them the keys to your soul. And once you see that clearly, you'll never beg again. Number 3. No begging, only self-worth. Never beg for a seat at a table when you can build your own. Let that sink in, my friends. Begging is one of the quickest ways to hand over your value. When you beg, you're saying with your actions, "You decide my worth." You're giving someone else the authority to stamp approval on your existence. And the truth is, no one is qualified to decide your worth but you. Picture this. Imagine a diamond lying on the ground. A passerby kicks it, ignores it, maybe even steps on it, because they don't recognize what it is. Now imagine that same diamond placed in the window of a jeweler's store, under the right light, shining bright. Suddenly people stop. They stare. They lean in closer. What changed? Not the diamond. Its value was always the same. What changed was how it was presented. When you beg, you're that diamond lying in the dirt, still valuable, but allowing others to treat you like you're common. When you stop begging and stand in your own worth, you're that diamond in the light, impossible to ignore. But here's the lie so many people believe. If I don't beg, I'll lose them. If I don't prove myself, they'll forget me. If I don't show them how much I care, they'll move on. My friends, begging doesn't make them stay. It makes them certain you'll never leave. It doesn't spark respect. It kills it. Because respect is never given to someone on their knees. Respect belongs to the one who knows they could kneel, but chooses to stand tall instead. Let me ask you this. Have you ever begged someone only to feel empty after? Did it give you peace? Did it restore your dignity? Or did it make you feel small, powerless, ashamed? That's because begging is an illusion. It promises relief, but delivers chains. It whispers, "If I just do a little more, they'll see my worth." But your worth is not something anyone else can see. It's something you live, something you embody, something you carry with or without their recognition. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If your thoughts are filled with desperation, your soul will wear that color. But if your thoughts are filled with strength, dignity, and self-respect, your soul will radiate that, and people will respond to it, whether they admit it or not. Imagine this scene. A person is drowning in quicksand. They're thrashing, reaching, calling out, grabbing at anything that might pull them up. That's begging. The more they move, the deeper they sink. But the one who lies still, the one who refuses to panic, is the one who eventually rises, because calm is where survival lives. Begging is thrashing, silence is survival. Self-worth is the rope that pulls you out. I know it's tempting. I know your mind screams, if I just say this one thing, maybe they'll understand. If I just send this one text, maybe they'll come back. But understand this. Every time you beg, you're feeding their ego. You're confirming what they secretly want to believe, that you need them more than they need you. And that illusion is what keeps them comfortable. When you stop begging, you break the illusion. You show them they are not the air you breathe, they are just another moment in your story. Here's the hard part. Not begging feels like losing at first. It feels like silence is killing you. But in reality, it's birthing a new version of you. It's teaching you that love built on begging is not love. It's dependence. And dependence is a prison. Freedom comes when you realize that even if they never see your worth remains untouched. Folks, you don't beg people to stay in your life. Those meant to stay don't require it. You don't beg for love. Real love flows freely. It doesn't need convincing. You don't beg for respect. Respect is a mirror. When you give it to yourself, the world has no choice but to reflect it back. So today, stop begging. Stand tall. Choose self-worth over desperation. Be the diamond in the light, not the jewel lost in the dirt. And watch how everything changes, not because they finally gave you worth, but because you finally claimed it for yourself. Write this in the comments right now. I am enough. 3 words. Simple, unshakable, undeniable. Type it and let it echo back into your own soul. Show yourself, show the world. Show them that no matter who left, no matter who ignored, your value is not up for debate. And stay with me, because next we're going even deeper. We've talked about restraint, we've talked about distance, we've talked about self-worth. But now we step into the silence that teaches louder than words. The silence that makes them face themselves without you saying a thing. What comes next is the teacher they can't escape. Number 4. Silence as the teacher. Silence is sometimes the most powerful scream. My friends, we live in a world addicted to noise. Everyone wants the last word, the final text, the dramatic exit. They want to argue, explain, justify, defend, and prove. But here's the truth. Every word you give them is fuel. Every explanation you hand out is a weapon they can twist. Every paragraph you send is a stage for their ego to perform on. Silence, though. Silence is the teacher they never wanted, but the one they will never forget. Imagine this with me. Picture a room full of people, music blasting, everyone laughing, dancing, shouting. Then suddenly, the music cuts. Silence. The kind of silence that makes you hear your own heartbeat. Everyone freezes. Everyone notices. That's what happens when you stop feeding someone your words. They notice the absence louder than they ever notice the noise. Your silence turns into a mirror, forcing them to face what they've done, forcing them to feel what they've lost, and forcing them to sit with themselves without your constant presence to distract them. But here's the lie people believe. If I stay silent, they'll think I don't care. If I don't explain, they'll think they're right. If I don't respond, they'll move on. No, my friends, silence does not say, I don't care. Silence says, I refuse to keep dancing in your circus. Silence says, I'm too powerful to explain myself to someone committed to misunderstanding me. Silence says, your stage is closed, the lights are out, and I'm gone. Seneca once wrote, it is better to conquer our grief than to deceive it. What does that mean here? It means your silence is not denial. It's not avoidance. It's not weakness. It's conquest. It's you choosing not to deceive yourself with endless words that will never change them. It's you choosing to master your own emotions instead of letting them run wild in someone else's arena. Think of it like this. When a teacher stops talking in class and just stares at the room, what happens? The noise dies down. The students grow uneasy. The silence itself becomes the lesson. In the same way, when you stop talking, stop reacting, stop sending proof of your care, they feel that silence as a weight. They start to squirm under it. They start to ask themselves questions they've been avoiding. Did I go too far? Did I lose something real? Why aren't they reacting? Why aren't they chasing? And that's the power. You didn't scream, you didn't block, you didn't beg, you just went quiet. And the silence becomes the storm in their head. The more they try to ignore it, the louder it gets. The more they try to act unbothered, the more it gnaws at them. Because silence is not nothing, it's everything they fear. Now, I know what you're thinking, but staying silent is so hard. I want to defend myself. I want to prove my side. I want to show them they're wrong. My friends, that's normal. That's your pride itching for attention. But here's the truth. You don't need to defend yourself to someone who was never listening in the first place. You don't need to explain yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you. And you don't need to prove yourself to someone who only values you when you beg. Silence cuts through all of that. It's difficult because silence forces you to sit with your own thoughts too, and many people would rather scream outward than confront inward. But if you can master that moment, if you can breathe, stay still, resist the urge to send that text, you're not just teaching them, you're teaching yourself. You're showing yourself that you are not a slave to impulse, not chained to reaction, not defined by whether they hear your side. You're showing yourself that your peace matters more than their perception. Think of silence as a seed. When you plant it, nothing seems to happen at first. Days pass, maybe weeks. But underground, things are shifting, roots are growing, and then one day it sprouts into something undeniable. Your silence works the same way. At first it looks like nothing is happening, but slowly, steadily, it digs into their mind, until one day when they least expect it, it blooms into regret they cannot escape. So here's the truth. Silence is not punishment, it's protection. It's not revenge, it's revelation. It reveals to them who they are when you're not cushioning their ego. It reveals to you who you are when you stop explaining. And that revelation will always be more powerful than any speech you could ever give. Write this in the comments right now. My silence teaches. Declare it. Believe it. Let it be your reminder. Show yourself that you are done explaining, done justifying, done dancing in someone else's noise. Show the world that you've chosen the higher ground. And stay with me, because what's coming next will take this even deeper. We'll talk about how silence doesn't just teach, it bends time itself. Time will start working against them, and every second of your silence will turn into a weight they cannot escape. Number 5. Time turns the tables. Time is the wisest counselor of all. That's what Pericles said, my friends, and he was right. Because here's the thing, at first, silence feels like freedom to them. The first few days, maybe even weeks, they feel light. They tell themselves they made the right choice. They laugh a little louder, post a little more, walk around like they've shed a weight. They believe you'll be back. They believe your silence is temporary. But what they don't realize is that time has teeth. And the longer it stretches, the sharper it bites. Imagine a dripping faucet in the middle of the night. 1 drop, 2 drops, 3 drops. At first, you ignore it. It's nothing, just background noise. But as the minutes pass, the sound starts digging into your skull. You can't unhear it. You toss and turn, trying to drown it out, but the dripping doesn't stop. That's what your silence becomes over time. It starts soft, almost unnoticeable, but with each passing day, it grows heavier, louder, impossible to ignore. Here's the lie most people believe. They're not reaching out, so they must not care. They've moved on, so my silence isn't working. Wrong. The truth is, time is a slow but ruthless teacher. At first, they feel free. But as the days pile up, as your absence stretches wider and wider, they start to realize something they never wanted to admit. They're the ones left behind. Think about it like this. When someone walks out of your life, they assume the door is still half open. They think they can wander back when they're ready, But every day you stay silent, that door doesn't just close, it locks. And they know it. They can feel the lock turning with every sunrise you don't reach out, every night you don't send that message. The more time passes, the more final your silence feels. Seneca once said, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Time is what makes endings real, and your silence, stretched over time, becomes the proof that this ending is not just a phase, it's permanent. They can deny it in the first week, but by the second month, the weight of your absence presses harder than they ever expected. Now let's be honest. Waiting is hard. Patience feels like pain. You want results now. You want to know it's working. But my friends, silence is like planting a seed. You don't see the roots growing in the dark. You don't see the shifts happening under the surface. But give it time, and suddenly the sprout appears. That's how it works with them. You don't see the storm building at first, but time is slowly turning your silence into thunder in their mind. Here's the tricky part. At first, time works for them. The freedom feels exciting, but slowly, without warning, time flips. The quiet starts chasing them. The absence starts whispering questions. Why haven't they reached out? Did I push too far? What if they've really moved on? They'll post louder, they'll laugh harder, they'll pretend better. But deep down, they can't escape what time is showing them. That the one thing they thought would always be there is gone. And that's the beauty of it. You don't need to force anything. You don't need to chase. You don't need to block. All you need is time, because time does the work for you. Time amplifies silence. Time deepens distance. Time transforms absence into permanence. And the longer you hold the line, the heavier it becomes for them. Now, I know some of you are asking, but what if they never realize it? What if they never regret it? My friends, that's not your job to worry about. Your job is not to make them see. Your job is to protect your peace, to stand in your worth, to let time reveal what it will. Because whether they admit it or not, no one forgets the one who walked away without begging, without blocking, without making a scene. They don't forget the silence that stretched so long it turned into a wall they could never climb again. So let me say it plain, time always tells the truth. It shows you who was meant to stay. It shows them who they lost. And in the end, it always flips the tables. Write this in the comments right now. Time is on my side. Let it be your anchor. Let it remind you that you don't have to rush. You don't have to prove. You don't have to break your silence. Show yourself. Show the world. Show them. Because the longer you stand still, the more time works for you and against them. Stay with me, because next we're about to take it even deeper. We've talked about restraint, distance, self-worth, and silence as a teacher. We've seen how time bends the game in your favor. But now we step into the moment where you're no longer just gone, you're unreachable. And that, my friends, is where everything changes. Number 6, you become unreachable. The highest walls are not built of stone, but of silence and self-respect. My friends, there's a world of difference between being gone and being unreachable. Being gone means they can still peek at your life, still hold on to the illusion that they could reach out and pull you back at any moment. But being unreachable, that's when you step into a level of peace and power so far above them, they realize, no matter what they do, they can't touch you anymore. And let me tell you, that realization hits harder than anything you could ever say. Picture this with me. Imagine a bridge set on fire. At first, they laugh, thinking you'll rebuild it. They think you'll swim across the river, call out, or throw them a rope. But as the flames consume the wood, as the smoke rises into the sky, they start to realize this bridge isn't coming back. And when they turn to find another way across, they see nothing but distance. That's what it means to be unreachable. not just absent, not just quiet. Gone in a way that leaves no path back to you. But here's the lie they tell themselves. They're just mad. They'll come back. This silence is temporary. I still have access to them. My friends, that's what they believed when you used to break your own silence, when you used to chase, when you used to explain. But now they start to see that the version of you they thought they controlled is gone. You're no longer the person they could manipulate with a text, no longer the soul they could lure back with breadcrumbs. You've evolved. And nothing terrifies someone more than realizing the person they thought they knew doesn't exist anymore. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom isn't just walking away, it's becoming unreachable in spirit. It's not just about ignoring their calls. It's about reaching a place in your mind where their opinion has no weight, where their validation has no grip, where their absence doesn't sting. That's true mastery. That's when you become free. Think about this. When someone loses a game, they can always hope for a rematch. They can prepare, come back stronger, play again. But what happens when the game itself disappears? When the board is gone, the pieces are gone, the rules are gone. That's what your silence and growth does. It doesn't just end the round. It removes the game from existence. They're left holding pieces to something that no longer exists. That's unreachable. Now I won't sugarcoat it. Becoming unreachable requires work. It means healing instead of hiding. It means building instead of waiting. It means leveling up so much that even if they tried to come back, they wouldn't even recognize the version of you standing there. And that's why it hurts them so deeply. Because when they finally turn around to find you, they realize you're not just silent, you're untouchable. And here's the beauty of it. Being unreachable doesn't require bitterness. You don't need to scream, "I'm done." You don't need to block. You don't need to throw shade. You simply rise. You invest in your life, your goals, your health, your happiness. You let your growth speak for itself. And that quiet evolution makes more noise than any argument ever could. Here's the truth they never expected. They thought they walked away from you, but now they're realizing they can't walk back to you. They thought you'd always be the same, waiting in the same place. But you didn't just move on, you moved up. And that, my friends, is a reality they can't unsee, because nothing haunts a person more than realizing they lost access to someone they once took for granted. So, let's break the lie. Being unreachable doesn't mean you're hiding. It doesn't mean you're running. It means you've grown into a version of yourself that is no longer accessible to people who couldn't value you. It means your energy is protected, your peace is guarded, and your worth is non-negotiable. Write this in the comments right now. I am unreachable. Say it, type it, declare it. Because the moment you accept that truth, you step into a level of freedom they can't follow. Show yourself, show the world, show them that you're not just gone, you're unreachable. And stay with me, because next we'll talk about the flip. How silence and evolution don't just make you untouchable, they rewrite the whole story. You'll see how the narrative they thought they controlled crumbles, and how you become the author of a story they never saw coming. Number 7. You flip the narrative. The one who controls the story controls the power. My friends, this is where everything shifts. For so long they believed they were the author of your story. They thought they were the ones writing the ending. They believed you'd always be the character who chases, the one who explains, the one who proves. But silence takes the pen right out of their hands. Silence flips the script without you ever needing to raise your voice. Imagine this. A movie plays out on the screen. The hero is beaten down, the villain smirks, and everyone thinks the ending is predictable. The audience leans back, confident they know how this story will close. But suddenly the music shifts. The hero stands, And without a single word, the entire theater realizes the script has changed. That's what your silence does. They thought they'd written you as the one who lost. But now, without warning, you've rewritten yourself as the one who walked away with dignity. Let's break the lie here. They tell themselves, I left them. They're the one hurting. They're the one watching me live free. That's what they brag about. That's what they feed their ego with. But then your silence starts working. They notice you didn't chase. They notice you didn't explain. They notice you didn't crumble. And suddenly, the story in their head doesn't match the story in reality. They thought you'd be begging, but you're blooming. They thought you'd be broken, but you're building, and the dissonance eats away at them. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." That's what flipping the narrative is. You decide who you are, not them. You decide if you're the one left behind or the one who rose above. And when you choose silence, when you choose peace, when you choose to stand tall without reaction, you've already chosen to be the author, not the victim. Picture a chess game again. They believed they had you cornered. They made their move, confident it would be the last. But instead of reacting, you leaned back, and suddenly, without lifting a piece, the board flipped. Now they're the ones boxed in. They're the ones wondering how the game ended without them noticing. That's the power of narrative. It changes not by fighting harder, but by refusing to play the role they wrote for you. And here's the secret. Flipping the script doesn't require drama. You don't need to expose them. You don't need to shout from the rooftops. You don't need to prove how strong you are. You just have to live it. Your silence is the ink. Your peace is the plot twist. Your growth is the new chapter. And the story they thought they controlled crumbles in their hands. But let me be clear, this is not easy. It takes discipline to not defend yourself. It takes courage to let the truth speak louder than your explanations. It takes strength to say, I don't need them to understand. I don't need them to clap. I know my worth. That's why so few people ever flip the script. Most stay stuck in the story written for them, but not you, not if you choose this path. Because when you do, something incredible happens. The person who thought they left you behind becomes haunted by the person they can no longer reach. The one who thought they broke you becomes obsessed with the one they can't stop thinking about. And the one who thought they were the author realizes they were just a chapter in a book you've already outgrown. So let's set it in stone. Write this in the comments right now. I write my story. Declare it, my friends. Show yourself. Show the world. Show them that you are no longer a character in their play. You are the author of your own life. And if this resonated with you, if you felt the power of silence, if you've seen how restraint, distance, self-worth and time transform everything, press that like button right now, subscribe so you never miss what's coming next, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because silence isn't just about letting go, it's about flipping the narrative, rewriting the story, and walking forward with unshakable power.